I can hear you well.
Good morning. Now let's start
Good
our
morning.
talk show episode 19. The only thing that stand between you and your dream is able to try and believe that is actually possible. It's a beautiful quote quoted by Joel Brown. So with this quote, I would like to bring our talk show name Conversation with Consultant with episode 90 of our guest talk series. Good morning everyone. I am Rima Kumari, ECR coordinator of SKANG, and I am your host for today's talk show. Before I begin our talk show, let me briefly introduce SK Associates and Group. We are an ISO certified management consulting firm registered under the MSMED Act 2006 with the Government of India. Our mission is to providing consulting service to student entrepreneurs globally, covering areas such as compliance, operations, marketing, research and development, human capital, strategic, and operations. Our passion lies in helping this budding entrepreneur bringing their dreams to life and contribute to global economic growth. Entrepreneurship is a catalyst for change and innovation. It's a powerful force that can reshape industries, transform lives, and make the world a better place. We are committed to supporting student entrepreneurs on their journey, equipping them with the tools, knowledge, and network they need to succeed. Now, before I begin our talk show, let's take a moment to introduce our guest for today. It gives us immense pleasure to welcome H.D.U. Professor Kazushi Yamamoto, Professor of Law, founder and Chancellor of Yamamoto Universal Integral Institute of this special event. We are truly honored by your presence today and we are delighted to have you here in this talk show to share your insight with us. We would like to start this interview. Our first question for you. We would like to start this interview with our first question for you. Can you explain the legal status of blockchain in India?
Thank you very much, Ms. Rema. That is a very, very important the questionnaire. One of them, to be precise, to think about the future even of the humankind. And as we are already aware of, for example, the technology based on the IT, for example, the AI are very influenced, the just now. And we are taking the interview via the Zoom, via the Microsoft Teams, whatsoever, the very IT-based the technology. And blockchain is one of the most prominent the technology that we can take into the consideration when we think about, of course, India and Japan and the very global. To make it precise and to make it short, the blockchain does not rely on what has been created in the era of a modern age that is called law and state in the modern era. For example, the India is one of the state country under the law, and the Japan is likewise. But blockchain can be functioning at the very global level, not depending on what I have told, the one country of the modern era. On the other hand, a blockchain cannot not able to create the physicality, for example, of the body of the human being. This is very apparent, but sometimes needed to be mentioned because people sometimes forget about the conditions of a being, of the human being, situated on this the universe, on the ground of the earth. So those conditions between the very global level to be able to function on the blockchain, and at the same time, the very natural to be mentioned, the physicality of a human being at posited at one country, for example, Republic of India. So these two dimensions we can look at, and what should we think about for human beings in the future? And we are communicating, like this via the Zoom. Is this Zoom? I don't know, but we are expanding our capability. For example, this is communication and also the transaction. For example, this is a very economical, the starting up and the investment, the body, SKANG, right? So we can transact, for example, the money, information, and sometimes properties, IP on the blockchain via the platform of what is called IT, not to be stolen, not to be making the sometime almost perfectly, not to be making the fraud on the blockchain level. So it's very natural to say that we can activate ourselves much more the global level and in a more secure way. In comparison with nowadays, AIs are activating the data server, which is situated in one country, law and state, for example, India, Japan, apparently the United States of America, right? So, but our blockchain at the global level, and the individual can be the very one of the unit mutually functioning, mutually recognizing all the information to be very true, which is very different from, for example, the AI functioning of the way of the computing just for the being. So we can have the prominent future when we think about the blockchain to be activated. The fund, pretty huge, can be transferred for the one country, thinking about we are a human being have the body situated in one country. So, but we need to be having the physicality of a body, right? So this dimension, we are thought to be belonging to some country. And sorry to mention again, but people sometimes forget, when we think about the IPs and the future of, for example, the quantum computing, much more advanced maybe. But the both dimensions we need to look at, one of the country, India, and also the blockchain. For example, the transaction, based on the contract, I'm thought to be the professor of law. So I'm talking about this dimension, the contract aspect. We can deal the very great deal of the transaction, say the investment also, based on a contract, beyond the border of modern country, right? India and Japan, not relying on the where you are, physicality, India, Japan. But at the same time, we need to be think about for example, criminal, the violation. We need to punish somebody, right, by the activating some power, and that power, for the time being of the world should be thought at the end by the execution of the authority, for example, the judiciary, the decision making. And under that, for example, the prosecutor will be, enforcing the implication of law, in a continental way, if I may, and mention, one of the two major the legal the traditions. So blockchain, we can do that. For the time being, are very skeptical. To activate for example, under the Constitution, the criminal dimensions of activation of power. So what do we do if somebody will store the money? Blockchain can be perfect maybe, but for example, electricity sometimes we shut down because of an earthquake, and somebody might be storing. I don't know the exact way, how the property will be stolen. Almost the perfect functioning of a blockchain, but something might be happening in the history of humankind, right? So what should we do? So those aspects, and also the allocation of resources, according to the concept of justice. For example, the very weak people, the very disabled, the handicapped, the personnel. How can we do that? Just on the international, the economical, the dimensions of contract-based, the sharing on the blockchain. Maybe a little difficult to do that, and we need a kind of a set of a method of modern law and state still. So thinking about the 21st century, the evolution of humankind, and the 22nd century, even a little combined with quantum, for instance, blockchain can be the very, very fascinating tool for us to make the evolution for the next dimensions of the ages. But at the same time, we still have a kind of the other dimension, the aspect of a physicality, basically thought to be affiliated with just one country. So combined with those two aspects, from maybe 17th century to nowadays, and a little bit more, we can have a little bit more the better way of activation of the image of life, and activating ourselves of the concept of freedom, making the use of a blockchain. So my understanding is that we are facing at this point of the very the history of humankind. So those aspects too. So we need to think about for the future of humankind. Of course, India is the one of the most prominent area of the world. That is very obvious to us. And India will be thinking about how to deal with the global, be able to function the blockchain. And the government, apparently thinking about the activation at the same time, the kind of a regulation also. As I mentioned, even at the dimension of criminal, like the money laundering also. So both, we are taking care of the both sides, a little negative impact as of the risk edge, but I believe that we can get into the next generation of the humankind of evolution making together.
It sounds good. It sounds good. It sounds good. Can you share the tips on negotiating contracts with global clients?
Thank you very much for your questioning. And when we think about the negotiation with the clients, maybe there are two aspects. One is a very managemental the aspect of getting clients and making the contributions, to the world. And at the same time, we need to think about from the point of view of the law and some compliance, the aspects. Those two are not, perfectly identical, because from the point of view of the management, for example, the CEO or some getting clients, to make it very easy to be understood, sometimes we need to get the clients at a very cheaper price, not thinking about the profits for the time being. Sometimes you need to get the clients, throwing away the profits right now, but thinking about the future creation to get the clients, if it's the larger scale. But from the point of view of law, of course, we need to be very cautiously taking care of each, the sentences, each the legal, the concepts that has been described on the paper of the contracts, right? So it's a very the final question, if those two conflict with each other, of course, the happiest way is to both the very in a harmonic way, we can take the both aspects of the profits, of course, but sometimes we need to face those aspects, and there is no general the reply to this the two aspects of a questionnaire, because sometimes we need to think about the managemental level of the profits aspect, for example, and the other cases, we need to take much more importance from the point of view of legality, because management, the people sometimes make mistakes, right? Not so much taking care of compliance, some legality, and try to get enforced to the future aspect of a creation, and not so much taking care of compliance matter, including the ESGs. So those are not necessarily happy each other, but so sorry to answer to this question, but we need to think about carefully the both aspects of the importance, of course.
Great. Moving with the next question. What's the importance of ESG compliance for startups?
Yeah, this is the one of the very important the questionnaire, and of course, as we have examined the dimension of blockchain before here, and also ESG is one of the most important issues that we need to focus on. DX, the one of the example is the blockchain, and GX is the green, the aspect of the business, and the ESG can be expressed one of the way of we need to take care of the human, the future, the environmental, the aspect, and the social aspect of the entities. And I want to talk about this aspect a little bit later with you, but we always need to think about the short term, the benefits, and at the same time, the long term, the benefits. And likewise, we have examined the managemental aspect of clients getting and the legality, the compliance. If long term the profits and the short term profits are very happy together, that's perfect. No need to talk about it. But almost every case is that those two conflicts, right? And this is obvious maybe for you, not to be mentioned, but in front of us, there is a carrot, and if we take the carrots, that's very delicious. But if you take the carrots, you throw away something. Sometimes it might be the credit, something like the trust from the society, something illegal, right? So we need to take the balance, both of them. And to make it short, ESG matters, and the long-term profit should be taking the advantage in comparison with the carrot in front of you, meaning the short-term, the profits. Because if you would like to be very successful at the very long run and the larger scale, for example, the global level of successes, always you need to think about the long-term, the profits, all right? For example, if you take the carrots in front of you, in front of your eyes, and if you take the carrots, if it's, for example, the legal and very good for the society, that is very nice. But sometimes taking the carrots in front of you, not compatible with long-term the profits. For example, it might be breaking the law. It might be breaking some environmental issues, something like the gas or some the air pollution. Yeah, anything, you can imagine those kind of things, sometimes breaking the internal code of a stock exchange sometimes. All right. So at those times, when we face the two dimensions of conflict issues and dilemma, that is a kind of a dilemma, right? So my suggestion is that take the long-term profits. Okay, do not to rush into taking the carrots in front of you. This is very important because if you are a business person to be invested from the investor, or if you are expected to do some IPO or getting very huge money from the public, you have a pressure, right, all the time. And monetary and timely, you are maybe under the pressure. Maybe I think so. If you are perfect, you are free from the pressure. I'm very totally free from the money. I'm totally free from the time. Maybe you're right, but most of you are under the pressure, and you are sometimes very, how can I say, the pressure to take the carrot in front of you, and sometimes it might be not so good for the public from the point of view of a third eyes. Think about it. ESG, it can be let you take the importance of the long term, the career, the benefits, and think about the society, think about the people in your company, think about the partnership people, and always, those are very precisely thinking about very legally, conflicts of interest conflicts sometimes. But you need to think about the harmonic, the points that we can get into for the future in the long run. So there should be some other points. Even a little throwing away the in front of a carrot, the short term, the benefits, but the middle range would be nice. A little think twice for the public, for the society, and at the same time, it's very good for the personal, the very benefit of you yourself. So let's find out those points, even under the pressure.
It sounds good. Moving with the next question. How do I create a company culture that prioritizes compliance?
Thank you very much again. And a little related issue that we have found out for the time being the answer the last time. So compliance for the starting up a company quite difficult to be accomplished because starting up a company is under the pressure of a very good, balance sheet and the cash flow of some terms. And first of all, the starting up company, the first they tend to focus on the cash flow, and the financial people are pretty much, influencing. But in the middle run of a success, really very much you need to think about the compliance issue and the legal issues, because, when you try to make the real success, and you need to have yourself to be sustainable for a long run, there's no way something like, oh, I'm okay to forget about the law. I can just focus on my the money, which is very ridiculous, and sometimes you'll be punished by the criminal law or some the against compliance issue, something like the company law or some the constitution of the company itself, combined with the relationship of the company law, especially. That is a talk in a continental way of law, especially in Japan. But anyway, many things will be coming up to you if you are running the company. Something but like a very legal, the compliance issue, along with the very financiality, the finance issue, and also even from the point of view of your contributing to the clients, sometimes you are, how can I say, try to escape some descriptions which is written on the contract, the legal issue. I don't know very precisely. This is a very the general the way of talking, so not so much the perfect to be adaptable to your case. But anyway, you need to have some the team very honest to the spirit of a law, which is very ethically very neutral, not just managemental side, not just labor side, not just country side, not just people's side. The law is a very the neutral aspect of the ethical the dimensions, and management people would like to sometimes push the legal aspect of taking care of people. For example, reduced or some the temptation, to have the number, created up for the carrot in front of you. And the legal, the matter, should be, ideally, to be independent from the point of view of management, from the point of view of sometimes even stakeholders like the employees and stockholders sometimes. So, but it's quite hard for the starting up, especially for the management top, take care of this aspect, because if you are very affordable persons to be able to take care of such a very little difficult issues of independence of the law aspect people within your team, if you are affordable, that's all right. But as we have already found out, sometimes they are not so happy together. So at those times, what kind of attitude will you take? And for the long run, you need to take care of the compliance, according to the law, for example. So that kind of a dilemma, you will be, facing that, and that's going to be some kind of the procedure at your successes. For example, at a very small, startup, you don't necessarily need to have a very strong legal team, maybe, but at some dimensions of your successes, for example, chasing for after IPO or whatever, M&A, the legal team should be needed, for example, outside, very independent, and also in-house, the brilliant person. So think about the very long run success, and that the legality and the compliance must be needed for the long term the successes. So please put it in your mind, and sometimes you need to be very patient, with the very strength and the very powerful the authority of the legal people. But maybe if you take care of that aspect, compliance and the legal, and you can have a very long-term successes, a very suitable for the very respected and esteemed persons in the society and in the global world.
Great. Moving with the next question. What is the role of leadership in shaping a company's philosophy?
Could you say again?
Your next question is, what is the role of leadership in shaping a company's philosophy?
The leadership, thank you. Leadership for the philosophy creation. That's now maybe for the business person, the one of the most important issue that we need to face that. For example, the company's success, can be overreached beyond the character of the management, the persons. For example, CEO, it is, often told, and I think quite right. So maybe before you encourage the people within your company, you have to educate yourself, morally, and from the point of view of your character, and also a little bit more the visions, and more technically, what kind of number, you can naturally think that you can make it and we can make it. The kind of self the evidence maybe included. So maybe this world is a kind of reflections of ourselves. If you are happy, maybe you will communicate with the very happy people, right? I don't know. This is open to the discussion, so maybe we can talk about this the next time, right? Anyway, making it short, if you make it by your leadership, you want to be successful with your team, with your company, with your fellows, you need to develop yourself first. And then as of the reflections of your character development, your organization, your company will be developing along with your character development. So please, take this point into your mind that when you would like to have yourself really successful with the tool of a company that you create. For example, there are many people in the short term, the very success like whatever in a business area, but middle term, long term, many people will be failing. And many of the reason, you can, how can I say this was the reason, maybe you can talk about it, but many of the reason, the failure will be because of you. You develop yourself, and according to your growth inside of you, philosophically, at the level of your soul, the organization will be developing along with you. Sometimes maybe you are satisfied with yourself, a little success, and maybe sometimes you can be very rude after a little success. Sometimes you consume your money, spending a lot, with the red Ferrari. You can buy red Ferrari, of course, if you are able to, but, some, the reason that you activate yourself, for example, by such a luxury, the brand of a car, sometimes, which is nice, but if it's just kind of an expression of your ego or some, not so much, the philosophically successes in your heart, that will be reflecting to you, even on the business and some the investment. So not to be too much, satisfied with ourselves. Something like, we can evolve ourselves, 1% per day, and not to be too much, overconfident within ourselves. And if we can make it, every day, the better person, every day, and you can be continuing to have your company, your investment, relationship with your fellows inside the company and outside of the company, and investor relations, sustainably. You can be, making successes, for the long run. So maybe cultivate yourself first and have your philosophy, the very sophisticated one, suitable for the long run. And then at the same time, the world and your company and the investment relationship would be finer and finer. And you can be, in the true meaning, very successful.
Great. Moving with the next, this is your last question for today's session.
Mm-hmm.
You need to break the rules if you want to success. Do you agree with this statement?
You mean for the success, we need to break the rules? Of course, we need to think about, what kind of the way you are expressing the rule. And first, we can think about some the customs and some belief of the humankind. There are so many, right? For example, you need to wake up, 9 o'clock in the morning, and everybody are doing, following, waking up the 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock, waking up the rule, for example. Okay, 9 o'clock, waking up in the morning. If everybody do, following that rule, maybe we are able to doubt that aspect of the rule, right? And the other customs, some the wrong belief. For example, we were not able to launch to the moon before, right? And the technological, the evolution have already made us, to be able to get into the moon and get on the land of the moon, right? So that kind of aspect of the rule or some the limit that we are unconsciously, forcing us to believe. Those things, we can doubt, of course. And for example, 15 years ago, you and me talking like this, having a session very naturally, but we didn't do like this, right? So this is this kind of things also, consists of our rule and what we can do or what we are not able to do. So we can challenge those rules, those limits of our mind, and which is very, very essential for the entrepreneur and the business person to make us to be very greatly successful at the global level, right? So, but you are very wise to be able to acknowledge and already to be very aware of, but there are some dimensions, that we cannot violate, right? For example, we can doubt the kind of a principle of a murder, which is, according to the criminal law. All right, we can think about those aspects of the rule. But from the time of Egypt and maybe 5,000 years of human history has been prohibiting the murder, for example, generally speaking. And we have a kind of a code of criminal, the law in the continental sense, if I may. So that aspect of rule, can we doubt about it? Maybe we can doubt about it, but my answers to this dimension of a rule, there are some the core dimensions of the human dignity, a human being that we never be able to break and interfere. Sometimes which can be expressed for the very long in the human history as the violation to the concept of God. For example, the absolute, the holy sum, the dimensions of a humans itself No, I believe that the objectively, sometimes might be, not to rely on the human's conscious. I mean, not depending on your individual, the recognitions. There are some dimensions that very objective, the very universe, the absolute dimension of some the rule. So we need to follow, or we cannot be able to not following such a principle because that principle will be chasing after you anyway. So it's impossible. It's impossible the dimension of a human, the positive, the dimensions of recognitions. So a little, abstract concept I dare to use this the aspect of the rule. So we need to take care of, for example, from point of view of the successes, the happiness, and regardless of our individual recognitions, what to do as of the human being. But, my belief is that there are the very absolute dimensions, sometimes, which has been expressed by under the name of the God in the modern era, the constitutions. For example, one of the way of expression is the human, the dignity, the human rights. You may be able to mention this aspect, and criminal code sometimes. So we need to take care of that aspect, which never be able to be, interfered as of the human being. And at the same time, maybe from the point of view of existence of a universe, never be allowing us to break this dimension of aspect rule. But, interpretation is open to us. As I said to you, waking up in the morning, 9 o'clock. Okay, is that true? It's a dimension of human the relations, the rationale, to really think about the kind of unconscious the limit of a human being. Oh, we can get into that stars maybe by your company's technology, right? So we can activate ourselves, because human being, have a very the rational, the ability to get into, not reach the dimensions of a future, right? That's one of the purpose, we are together. So that the business, not just, the law, the kind of sometimes, the application of already stated, already posited the criteria. But, we get into the very unknown dimension, the unknown, the future we need to jump into. At that time, we can dial some the customs issue and some very limiting the ability of a human being. We can doubt about it. But at the core of the very principal matter, at the same time, as I mentioned, I believe the absolute dimensions of the rules at the same time. So we need maybe the both aspects of a human being.
It sounds good. Moving ahead, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to H.D.U. Professor Kazushi Yamamoto for being our guest for today at Conversation with Consultants. Your presence and engagement helped to make this event successful. Thank you for providing insight into your exciting journey. Further, we would also like to thank our audience for listening patiently throughout the event. Thank you everyone joining with us today and hope that everyone gains some knowledge from this event. Looking ahead, we are excited to announce that our next episode 91 of Conversation with Consultants will be held soon. We hope to see you all there. Thank you and we look forward to reconnecting with you again. Do subscribe our YouTube channel and follow us all social media handles to stay connected with us. Goodbye and have a great day ahead. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. and I love to make a collaboration with you, and sometimes one more time we're gonna have a sessions together. Thank you very much.